Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Jay Kemmerer on the line, and he's a CEO over at Berkshire Advisors. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, so I am excited to get into your new book, Messages from the Money Masters, showcasing 12 financial experts' top tips for financial success. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background and what you're up to. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at Berkshire Advisors, please.
Well, I entered the financial industry 35 years ago, and with the belief that I can help a lot of people make less financial and money mistakes, which inevitably allow individuals to become wealthy wisely and to become financially independent.
That's awesome, and I think that's also a great transition into the book because that's in my mind that's exactly what you're doing with this book. Let's just start off with, what was the inspiration behind this?
Well, Adam, back in '08, as you know, all of us witnessed the Great Recession, and during that time and after that time, I started to just make a lot of notes on mistakes I saw being made by many individuals and many businesses, and I realized that I wanted to share some of that experience that I witnessed in order to really help people, give them the guidance to make better financial choices.
So let's go into some of the content from the book. And to all the listeners, we're not going to have time to go into all these. And if we did have time, we still wouldn't do it because I want you to go out and get this book. So again, it's really easy to find. There's going to be some things in the show notes that'll help you find it. But even if you're listening to this and not looking at the show notes, all you have to do is go into Amazon, type in Jay Kemmerer, and it comes right up. So you can find it pretty quickly. But let's get into some of this. So first off, Chapter 1, the richer or poorer question. What are your financial goals? Tell us a little bit more about this, please.
Well, the one thing I found is that, a lot of times if you take the time and ask yourself that question, will I be richer or will I be poorer if I make this particular financial decision today? And that question could surround itself about starting a business, starting a retirement account. It could be, should I buy that expensive Mercedes or a Porsche and leave my job and travel the world for a year? Every decision you make has some sort of financial ramification. And if you take the time to ask yourself, is this going to put me further in debt, or is it going to potentially create a better lifestyle for me in the future? That's the reason why I wrote that chapter.
So Chapter 5, Compounding and the Pizza and a Six-Pack Investment Strategy to Amassing Money. First off, my theory, I have no numbers or basis behind this, but I was in finance for a long time, almost 14 years as an advisor. Before I've been in media about 4 years now full-time. But I feel like if everybody knew how compounding works, that we wouldn't have the same type of spending habits. We wouldn't have the same type of problems that some people have, in the country with debt. I mean, if we just understood this concept. So tell us a little bit more about this chapter, the Pizza and a Six-Pack Investment Strategy to Amassing Money.
Well, when I got into the business, I was 25 years of age, and one of my managing mentors had mentioned to me that you realize, Jay, at your young age, if somebody just saved the equivalent of a pizza and a six-pack, and back in those days, we were calculating about $25 or $30. And if you did that each week, you could amass close to $1 million depending on the amount of return that you make. So in this chapter, I spend a little bit of time about what compounding looks like. We talk about the Rule of 72, which many people don't know what that is, and I disclose all of that in there about how long it takes your money to double through compounding. So the main emphasis is to learn about compounding, start saving as young as you can, and you don't need a lot of money on a weekly basis to accomplish and amass wealth down the road.
So I do want to go into one more of these chapters. So let's get into an inspirational story and tips to get you moving. Tell us a little bit more about that one, please.
Well, I start off talking about a time when I was preparing to launch a mutual fund company, and one of my advisors, who was a CPA, basically really just tried to talk me out of it and was a bit condescending, if you will. And what I learned, needless to say, I went ahead and I needed to find another advisor. And what I realized is I share a story in there that's somewhat similar to Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift grew up in our hometown of just outside of Reading, Pennsylvania. And I knew her father because he was an investment advisor as well. And the takeaway there was I've known other professional advisors that advised her father, Taylor's father, not to make the move to Nashville. And I believe the quote that he had said to me was that it would be financial suicide. And what I realized is that numerous people throughout their financial or business careers have perhaps listened to someone guide them in a direction that might not have been the best direction. It might have sounded prudent at the time, but even Lori Greiner and some of the other experts that I mentioned in the book have experienced something similar to what I have and what Taylor Swift did prior to her becoming very, very famous.
So, Jay, two-part question. So, number one, I want to talk a little bit more about a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives listening. What are the right type of clients? The first part of the question, what are the right types of clients for Berkshire Advisors that are typically a good fit? First part. Second part, what's the best way for those people listening to follow up and to learn more about what you're doing and also, of course, to pick up the book?
Okay, good question, Adam. I would say that the typical client for Berkshire Advisors is someone who has investable assets of $250,000 up to millions. I think probably one of my largest clients has about $44 million. But I would say that there's many people that are trying to amass that first $250,000, and that's another good client for us because I get a lot of enjoyment helping people get to that first step and then that second step. And maybe somebody out there is trying to get their first 10,000 or their first 100,000, and they're trying to get the 100, work that up to 250,000. You know, we work with a wide variety of people and with a lot of different backgrounds.
Awesome. And what's the best way for them to follow up?
I would say that the best way to follow up would be you can contact me directly at j@berkshireadvisors.net.
Fantastic.
And send me an email with any questions or any financial topics that you would like to learn a little bit more about, and I'll be happy to answer any of those questions.
Perfect. And best way for them to pick up a copy of the book?
You can go to my website, jkemmerer.com, and there's a link there to Amazon, or you can go right to Amazon and order it directly. If you do go to my website, you will get 3 additional free gifts just for signing up for our newsletter. We have a newsletter I call the 3-Minute Money Fix, and it's geared to people on the go, people that want to read about a variety of different financial topics, and we do that once a month, and that's free if you sign up on the website.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Jay, it's been great having you on the show today. First off, again, congrats on the book. So Messages from the Money Masters, great stuff there. Always love to help promote authors and get the word out on their new work. I know it's not an easy thing to bring out a new book, so I don't want to overlook that. Congrats on the new book. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the comment section. Love to hear what kind of things and projects you're working on. And Jay, thanks again for coming on the show.